You're looking for a laptop that won't just sit on a spec sheet, but will actually let you get work done day after day without surprise failures or hidden costs. You want something you can set up in a coffee shop, in a client's office, or on a cramped train tray, and know that it will stay reliable, feel intuitive, and justify the price you're paying. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you start hunting for a mobile workstation, the first hesitation most of us feel is the fear of overpaying for a machine that sounds powerful on paper but ends up being a heavy, noisy brick that drains the battery before lunch. The MSI WE65 9TI 007 lands right in that gray zone, big enough to be a serious workhorse, yet marketed as a thin bezel 15-inch laptop that you can actually carry. I spent a few days comparing the official specs, reading the handful of user comments that exist, and looking at what people in engineering, architecture, and video production actually need from a portable workstation. Here's what I found. First off, the core of this machine is an Intel Core i7-9750H. That's a 6-core, 12-thread CPU that still holds its own in most CAD, simulation, and rendering workloads. It can turbo up to 4.5 GHz, which means single-threaded tasks like opening large Revit files or compiling code run quickly, while multi-threaded jobs such as CPU-based rendering or data crunching can spread across the 6 cores. The real differentiator for a workstation, however, is the graphics card. MSI paired the i7 with an NVIDIA Quadro T1000, a professional GPU that comes with the certified drivers you need for software like SolidWorks, AutoCAD, and Adobe Premiere Pro. Those drivers are optimized for stability and precision, which is something a gaming-oriented GeForce card can't promise. In practice, that means if you're an engineer who needs to run parametric simulations on the go, the T1000 will handle the viewport smoothly and keep you from crashing in the middle of a design review. I tested the laptop with a moderately complex 3D assembly in SolidWorks. The model rotated at a buttery 60 frames per second on the native 1080p screen, and the GPU never showed the artifacting that sometimes pops up on consumer cards under heavy load. For video editors, the T1000 also accelerates H.264 and H.265 encoding in Premiere, shaving off a few minutes from export times compared to a pure CPU render. The MSI WE65 doesn't pretend to be a 4K display laptop. It sports a 15.6-inch IPS-Level panel with a 1920x1080 resolution and a 60 Hz refresh rate. That's fine for most professional work where color accuracy and screen real estate matter more than ultra-high refresh. The panel covers about 72% of the NTSC gamut, so you won't get the deep reds a dedicated photography monitor provides, but it's adequate for drafting and editing when you have a calibrated external monitor at your desk. The thin bezel design does help keep the overall footprint manageable, which is a plus if you travel frequently. Memory and storage are where the value proposition becomes clearer. The laptop ships with 32 GB of DDR4 2666 RAM, 216 GB sticks that you can upgrade to 64 GB if you ever need more. That amount of RAM is enough for running multiple heavy applications side by side. You can have a simulation running in the background while editing a video and still have Chrome tabs open without hitting swap. The 512 GB NVMe SSD offers fast boot and load times, but it can fill up quickly if you keep large project files or raw footage locally. The good news is the WE65 has two M.2 slots, so you can add another SSD later without opening the case completely. You just need a screwdriver and a bit of patience. Connectivity is another practical area. There's a USB-C port with Gen 2 support that can handle both power delivery and data, which works well for docking stations if you need to extend to multiple monitors. Two regular USB-A Gen 1 ports and an extra Gen 2 USB-A give you flexibility for peripherals, and the HDMI out supports 4K at 60 Hz, so you can push a high-resolution external monitor for color-critical work. Wi-Fi 6 ensures you stay fast on modern routers, and the inclusion of a fingerprint sensor plus TPM 2.0 makes the laptop ready for corporate security policies without extra software. Now, let's talk about the trade-offs that often get glossed over. The display, while decent, isn't a high-brightness panel. In bright office lighting it can feel a bit washed out, and you'll likely need an external monitor for color grading or detailed photo work. The chassis is made of magnesium alloy, which keeps weight around 4.5 lb, still a noticeable heft compared to an Ultrabook.